a great fight. I would pick Ben at the minute, simply because Eubank was cracked by Liam Smith, and you know he was never cracked before, and it's a summary for me. He had a great chin up to then, and then he was knocked out, and it's never quite the same again. I think Ben is a more explosive fighter than Liam Smith. He's faster. He punches hard, but then, you know, good big one will always beat a good little one, you know, all those cliches. But I just think I would give Ben the edge. But, you know,
Eubanks, you know, wants to probably keep it on the outside as much as he can and use his skill sets to, you know, use his hand speed and his ability to throw counter punches and, you know, punches from different angles. He needs space, or space accommodates him pretty well and favors him pretty well when he has that space to do that. And I would think that Ben would like to take that space away, you know, like to kind of work his way in and maybe go to the body like a better BF with a Bevo, take the legs away, you know, of Eubanks when he's right, you know, when his focus is there, when he's right. To be able to do things in a boxing way on the outside. And I love Ben's style and his approach. I do, where, you know, being aggressive in a responsible way, you know, in a way a fighter should be, with paying attention to, you know, doing it with defense and responsibility of defense, and, you know, just proper way to engage somebody, but the consistent offense, looking to, you know, to engage.
I'm not sure what the genuine beef is with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. I know they've got the history, like I mentioned, the father's name. Chris Eubank seems quite chilled and quite happy and smiley, but every time Conor Benn comes into close proximity with Chris Eubank Jr., he turns into a roadman killer, doesn't he? He's got serious beef. Every time he gets in his face, he puts it on him. Says he don't like him, he even hates him. He wants to smash his head in. I'm like, is this just selling the fight, or is this genuine need? And if it is genuine need, what's it for? Is it why you got so much beef? Is it just because of the family name? Conor Benn could do with winning this because he's, 28 years old, and moving forward, he's got a potential bright future ahead of him. Chris Eubank Jr. wins this fight. I'm not sure what doors it opens for him or where it takes him at 35 years old, because in my opinion, at this age of your boxing career, then you've only got 2 or 3 years left, especially at this weight.
Conor Benn, the jury's out on Conor because we've got nothing to gauge him off. He didn't fight for a southern area, an English, a British, a European, so we don't know how he's got to perform in a 50-50 fight, in a title fight, because we have no evidence. Yeah, I expect so. But Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
I haven't got a favourite. I think the bigger man should win, but the bigger man's he's not great himself. You know, when we talk about a good big and beats a good little one, listen, you've got to remember, Eubank's not great. And in his last fight, I thought he looked old. It's the first time I've looked at him and I thought,
in Riyadh, I agree with you. He got
Gareth, I thought he looked old.
Yeah.
I thought he looked old. Yeah. And if age is catching up on you, and listen, don't forget, his father has always banged on about him sparring heavyweights. When they were working together, and he was always talking about he spars heavyweights, he stands there as well. That shortens your lifespan in boxing. That has an effect. And if time has now come onto it, he's 35 years old, he's struggling to make the weight, time comes onto you, you've got again, Ben might not be the biggest, everybody makes that as though he's this huge puncher. He had a portion of his career where he didn't look like a huge puncher. He had a little window where all of a sudden he was a monster.
You're on good terms. I don't believe he didn't know about it.
No, you know I didn't know.
No, I don't, because I think you're a little bit snaky.
No, you know I didn't know.
No.
Don't talk.
No. Because, no.
You can't say things.
No, stop, because then I'll take you through it. Listen, I've been very nice to you lately.
You can't say
and I've been very nice to you lately. I've given you a big education the last couple of weeks. I've told you were very lucky to be talking to me. Right. But we do get on well. We actually have a bit of banter. He actually, if you don't mind me saying, he was asking me potentially to go and box as bald.
Yeah, it was a good joke.
I just think Conor Benn's going to win. Too young, too fresh, and although, listen, Eubank, it took a lot for him to come back after getting viciously knocked out by Liam Smith to come back and beat Liam Smith. I just think the fight's happening at the right time for Conor Benn. I think the fight's happening at the right time, and I favour Conor Benn in the fight.
Yeah.
I think Eubank Jr. is good for boxing. Genuinely, I think Chris Jr. is good for boxing. I think that if he was promoted by a Frank Warren or an Eddie Hearn back in the day when he turned pro, he would be an even bigger star than what he is now because of how he is. He's funny, like he's quite funny, isn't he, Eubanks Jr.? He speaks well, but yeah, I think he's good for boxing. But I just think Conor Benn's going to chin it.
Was a fantastic fighter, is a fantastic fighter, but he's too heavy. Okay, he is a 168-pound fighter. For him to get down to 160 now is too much for him. So Conor would be fighting someone who has lost his punch resistance, which was proven with this Mr. Smith. Again, I don't talk against my son. I'm there to protect him because I know how dangerous this young man is in Conor Benn. I know how dangerous he is. 147 fights, 147. Leave Junior alone.
Won't get the better of Eubank?
I think Conor Benn beats Eubank, but I kind of need Eubank to win. Do you know what I mean? For myself, from a selfish perspective, I need him to win.
Because you want to fight him?
Yeah, exactly.
Would it be the first defence if you win that, or when you win that WBC title? Is that someone that you would choose?
100%, 100%. As long as obviously everyone's okay with it, it'd be that. I mean, why not? It'd be the biggest fight for me next in boxing, and I haven't got long left in the 160-pound division, so it's not me going on about taking certain defences. It's all about just fighting the big fights.
Sure. And it lines up because obviously your Feb 22, we don't know the exact date, but it's April 26 is being touted. So if Chris Eubank does win, maybe it does work out as a summer fight.
Yep.
It's a stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. It could be for sure. And I mean, these hopefully at the Emirates. Do you know what I mean? That'd be a massive dream of mine.
Not White Hart Lane, no.
No.
Circuses and what you're a fool to buy into. It's a really good fight. It's a 50-50 fight between two guys that are world ranked in their division. I mean, he's making out like neither of them have ever boxed before. They're both used to this. It's a mismatch. It's not. It's a 50-50 fight between two world ranked fighters who, by the way, fathers happen to be Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, who had the biggest rivalry ever in British boxing, and, by the way, whose sons now have, by far, the biggest rivalry in British boxing.
Before it was a bitch move, if I'm honest, because anytime an attack like that is like premeditated, I'm not like, if you have a head-to-head, someone says something, someone pushes you, you whack him. I get it, but to all sit there and go, yeah, right, get me an egg, yeah, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to goad him on and then I'm going to hit him around the face, which was really in the eye, with an egg.
Tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it because one big left hook could change anything, but to me, his best chance are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be pretty rough for him because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And like, even the stuff he's doing now, he's going to continue to get better, but I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter. So he's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull off the upset at one time, so I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's going to be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantage because he's bigger. But it's going to be a great fight.
You know what? A lot of people are talking about it, Roy. You know about cutting weight and whatnot. A lot of people talking about Chris Eubank Jr. now being at 160 and maybe being tight at that weight now. But the rehydration clause, £10, I'm saying, listen, with a £10 rehydration clause in it, that won't affect him at all.
That won't affect him at all, but I don't really think Chris was big on rehydrating anyway. So I don't think he's going to get that big You know what I mean? He might, but I don't think 10 pounds bothers him at all.
Fast forward for another light heavyweight contest going, Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol, February the 12th.
By the way, that was interesting. Eubank Benn, that's a fight you want to see, no?
That is a fight I want to see.
Good fight, isn't it?
For sure, it is a good fight.
Big fight as well, like stadium, packed out.
Are we saying stadium?
I think so. I think
you think it'll do well?
Yeah.
Wembley, Tottenham, Cardiff.
Tottenham.
Tottenham, yeah?
60,000.
That'll work out well.
Yeah, I think Wembley might just be pushing it just a little bit.
I think they can do it.
Only a few certain men can do Wembley.
Boxing's on the big stage.
Agreed.
Look at this.
Agreed.
It's amazing.
You've had a nice little break. I saw you out in Nigeria. Do you feel like re-energized, ready to go again?
You know I do.
I know you do.
You know I do.
Yeah.
But more so after my last fight, I took some time out.
Mm-hmm.
I let my body heal, which I'm still working on now. And I declined some business opportunities so I can focus on the sport, which takes off mental pressure, not just physical stuff. So I let my body heal physically. And then the mental aspect, I've obviously declined some things that are draining mentally. And I went away with the family, which is always good. And we're back again, ready for
ferocity and art and all of that. He's got, and he has looked good. He has looked good of late. When he was, when he was active. What's his name? The other guy, Eubanks. For me, he's been a little bit inactive, but he's an hard fucker and all. I tell you what, when his old man sent him out to New York, I forget who he was with now. But he was out in New York, his old man's conditioned him. His old man. I like the job that both their fathers have done on their kids. I like Eubank, the way he talks. I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off here now, but I like him. I can't say I dislike him. And Ben, and he reminds me of his old man. You know what I mean? He reminds me of his old man. So yeah, great fight, great fight. I'm looking forward to it.
And then just circling back to your gym, what's the latest with everyone else, the likes of John Hedges, Tommy Fletcher, etc.?
Yeah, John Hedges, he's back in the gym. He's looking a lot trimmer now, and I'm hearing there's going to be an announcement.
They're making this fight on the second day 170 because they want Conor Benn to have a chance. Without it, Chris will rock him up. Chris will finish him. So Eddie Hearn is good at his job. He protects his fighters. So he thought he needs to do something here so where Conor has a bit of a chance. And that will be to tell Eubank, you're not allowed to be more than 10 pounds on the second day, which is even less than the IBF rules. So the IBF, you can be 172. Yeah. So this is no organisation does this. So obviously it's a tactic of them to try and get that little small advantage on the next day. But listen, Chris agreed to it. For me, I found it weird because the way Conor Benn was gunning for this fight, you'd think it'd be like how Kell Brook was when he fought Golovkin, just go up to middleweight and fight.
Was I surprised? Not really. I mean, I didn't know he was going to pull an egg out of his pocket and slap it round his head, but it was always going to be some form of drama. It was always going to happen. It spiced it up. Like I say, I wasn't really surprised by it. Maybe a little bit stupid, maybe not a little bit stupid. Maybe there was going to be something that's going to happen. Was it going to be Conor Benn? Was it going to be Chris Eubank Jr.? But I think that shows you the rivalry between these two and the feuds between these two.
Chris very well. I grew up with him. We went to school together and he's been in my gym the whole time. And I'm also very close with Conor Benn. He's a good pal of mine. So it's very hard for me to sort of sit back and say this or say that. I think they're doing a fantastic job in selling their fight. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. They both obviously have the needle with each other and they're both going to give it everything. So be prepared for war. And I hope they get out of the ring safe and sound.
It's a special time for myself as a fan in this fight, yeah, for sure.
If you're Conor Benn, what does he have to do to go up 2 weight classes and beat Eubank?
Well, listen, look, fights are won and lost on the scales most of the time. You get me? Not most of the time, but fights are won and lost on the scales. Unless you're in the camp and you're around the camp, it's difficult to make judgments. But listen, Ben's got the ferocity, and he's got the art, and the ferocity and art and all of that. He's got yeah, and he has looked good. He has looked good of late. When he was active. What's his name? The other guy, Eubanks. For me, he's been a little bit inactive, but he's an hard fucker and all. I'll tell you what. When his old man sent him out to New York, I forget who he was with now.
Yeah, well, it's bigger than it ever was. It's 3 times bigger than it was before the 2 positive clomiphene tests. Ben's dangerous early in that fight, in my view, because he's coming with all that stinging venom and kind of pent-up aggression that he's developed over the last 2.5 years. But I think Eubanks fought the better level of opponents, even though he's aged 2.5 years and he's been knocked out by Liam Smith.
That's his dad's son, and his dad's exactly the same. And the Eubanks and the Benns, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and so there'll always be that family rivalry going on. And Chris's aloof personality, riles Conor, like his dad did, with their dads did. So he knows exactly what he's got to do.
Mismatch, just as much a mismatch as the presses have been. It will be a similar format, playing out in the physical. Chris is way too much, and that will become evident as the rounds go on in the fight.
It's actually a good thing sometimes to have a little bit of weight to train up. Not a lot, but and I think that's what Eubanks got, whereas Conor is already at the weight, or there or thereabouts. So that's also a benefit in the sense like he can now just completely fuel his training and fuel his performance. But it's always going to favour the bigger man. It's always going to favour the bigger man. But age is the biggest factor for me in this fight.
Not having the antics of Chris Eubank Jr. the other day when he had that egg moment and he slapped it right into Conor Benn's face. I'm nothing wookish about me, I can assure you. When I let rip, you'll know all about it. But I do feel it's maybe what the sport doesn't need, and yet many people are saying, no, it's great, you watch it. Everybody wants to go to that fight.
I'm hard for him to beat Chris Eubank because Chris Eubank is first bigger, he's faster, he hits harder, he's had more experience in really big fights. I don't see how you're going to beat Chris Eubank Jr.
I'm looking forward to the build-up once they get the fathers involved. April the 26th, Nigel and Conor are both emotional, and Chris both play the villain, don't they?
Okay.
Even though I think in this one, Eubank Jr. is going to be able to sit back a little bit. Yeah, some people are saying that they don't think the fight means anything, but I think the bloodline in British sport.
Any man in the UK who's watched the dad's fight.
I'm hard for him to beat Chris Eubank because Chris Eubank is first bigger, he's faster.
Ben's got the ferocity, and he's got the art, and the ferocity and art and all of that.
I think Conor Benn beats Eubank.
He's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull out the upset at one time, so I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's going to be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantage because he's bigger. But it's going to be a great fight.
They know how to sell a fight, absolutely. Both of them, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. They know what they're doing, they know how to sell a fight, and everyone's talking about it. So job done. I seen a thing that there was 120,000 people in the queue for tickets, so if that's the case, then phenomenal. And it's the type of fight where people who aren't boxing fans are going to be watching, which brings in a whole new audience, which is only a good thing.
That wraps up our pros picks for Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. The experts have weighed in, but now it all comes down to fight night. With the latest drama surrounding the weigh-in and the heated final face-off, tensions have never been higher. Eubank Jr. has vowed to make a statement, while Benn insists he'll prove once and for all that he belongs at the top. Will experience and power give Eubank Jr. the edge, or will Benn's relentless speed and hunger lead him to victory? The countdown is over. The talking stops now. Next up, the fight we've all been waiting for. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for live reactions, post-fight analysis, and all the breaking news as it happens. It's fight time. Let's go.